Okay, recording is on. Shalom and good day, brothers and sisters. We give honor to our Father in heaven, who is YAHUAH, for he is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We also give our respects unto his Son, who is Yahusha The Messiah, for his second Adam, the Messiah, known as the Anointed One. And we give our respects unto the Holy Spirit, which is the YAHUAH Calendar, known as the Spirit of Wisdom, the beauty of holiness, the glory of Yah, also known as the seven eyes and seven spirits of YAHUAH. Good morning. Today we will have a very interesting class today, because those who have been watching the signs in the heaven and earth and keeping a record of the Most High calendar, you're probably asking yourself, will we have a 13th month, and does it exist? Well, the Most High would not forsaken us. He has given us his prophets to give us the answer. So today we're going to one of his prophets' writings to find out, will there be a 13th month, or does it exist? But first, let us open up in prayer. Oh, let us face the east. For my brothers, I ask that you uncover your head. For my sisters, I ask that you cover your head. For that is the physical sign that we perform in the earthly realm to signify unto the Father we follow his order. For we know YAHUAH is over all of us, and under him is his Son, which is Yahusha HaMashiach, and then follow after him is the man, then after the man is the female, then the children, etc. For those who are not able to participate in this sign, guess what? The Father has you covered. But when you understand the mystery of the new covenant, then you'll understand why you are covered. For we are in the fourth beast kingdom. And because we're in this kingdom, our Father made a better and excellent way where your head is covered. So you fall under the same powers and protection for those who are entered into the new covenant, which is the marriage. All right, let us face the east and begin.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 34. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make her boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. O magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. I sought the Lord, and he heard me, and delivered me from all my fears. They looked unto him and were lightened, and their faces were not ashamed. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him, and saved him out of all his troubles. The angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him, and delivereth them. O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him. O fear the Lord, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. The young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing. Come, ye children, hearken unto me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. What man is he that desireth life, and loveth many days, that he may see good? Keep thy tongue from evil, and thy lips from speaking guile. Depart from evil, and do good. Seek peace, and pursue it. The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth, and delivereth them out of all their troubles. The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all. He keepeth all his bones, not one of them is broken. Evil shall slay the wicked, and they that hate the righteous shall be desolate. The Lord redeemeth the soul of his servants, and none of them that trust in him shall be desolate. We say amen in the name of Jesus. Hallelujah, hallelujah, and hallelujah.
So be it. So be it. Thank you, my sister, for that beautiful prayer.
You're welcome, sis.
Thank you. All right, let me show y'all a picture because I know this is gonna be one of the most talked about topics in the upcoming next month. And this is gonna be one of the most talked about topics. Is there a 13th month? Does it exist? So what I want to share with you, my brothers and sisters, is that what the living word, because most of y'all see the Bible or the words on the paper as just letters and words on a paper, but the Father needs you to go higher. For the words say that you shall no longer be taught by man, which is flesh. You shall be taught by his spirit. Even the Messiah said that he will send you what? The comforter to teach you these things, as written in John chapter 14, chapter 15, chapter 16, and 1 John chapter 2, verse 27. So when you're under his spirit to teach you these things, the spirit will lead you to go to the prophets. Go to the prophets' writings, for they are his mouthpiece, and they will tell you if a 13th month exists. Then the second witness unto you is the heavens. Go out and observe his heavens and see, does a 13th month exist? And then the third witness, just like Tori say, he gonna send us what, 2 or 3 witnesses. The earth will manifest the signs in the physical and let us know if it's a 13th month. Okay. Now we'll go to the agenda. All right. So first we're going to open up with the date. It's very important that we know what is our Father date, because Messiah told us that those who are watching, they would not be caught off guard and they will be aware what season we are in. Okay. So the Father's Day is, we are in the 12th month. And in this 12th month, we are on the 8th day. For as the year, we are in the 8th day from Adam, which is the 13th day of creation. And we are in the 8th week of Enoch's 10-week prophecy. Far as the day of the sun, we are in the sun's 12th month and 2nd day. And the Father's Day starts from sundown to sundown. For we are the children of light, and he is the Father of light. Therefore, we do not partake in the things of the darkness. Far as the phase of this day, we are in the daylight phase of the day. For as written in Genesis chapter 1, he says what? Evening and morning makes the day. In other words, darkness and daylight make a whole day unto him. So it's very important that you understand the phase of the day. Okay. Far as the heathen's day, for we know this is Satan's calendar. This is what Satan has taught into the world. For as prophesied by the prophet Daniel, it is written that he shall what? Change times and laws, keeping the people, keeping the sons and daughters of Adam from following our Father's calendar. For all these things come from heaven above. So this is what the fourth beast kingdom is doing. So let us give you the heathen date, for this is what the world know. So their date is February the 20th in the year of 2021 AD. And today they call this Saturday. In the Latin tongue, they would say Saturni Day, for we know they name their days of the week after their gods. And they start their day from midnight to midnight, because they are what? The children of darkness. And their father is the father of darkness. Therefore, they do as their father does. Read Revelation chapter 2 and chapter 3, and then you begin to understand what Saturnine Day is associated with. Mysteries. Okay. Now for the agenda. Today we shall review the homework assignment regarding 1 Enoch chapter 72. For I gave our family members the assignment to figure out what are the hours on that day when the sun entered into each sign of Mazzaroth. In other words, how many hours of daylight we would have and how many hours of night we would have when the sun entered to each sign of Mazzaroth. Now, Mazzaroth is the Hebrew word for the 12 signs. Today, the Gentile call it the zodiac. Or another way of saying this, you can say the 12-star constellations. As you see, our Father speaks through his creations. For the heavens are his billboard, and the earth bring these signs or play these signs out in the physical. Number 2, we shall discuss the reading assignment in Enoch in 1 Enoch chapter 74. Here we will see, is there such thing as a 13th month? For those who want to participate in this class, you are required to read Torah, which are the first 5 books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, along with the 4 books of the Gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. For in order to understand his calendar, you must have the foundation in you, such as Torah, the prophets, the scribes, and the Gospel. Without this foundation, you will not understand his calendar. The second requirement is you must go out and observe the heavens. For his calendar can not only be put on paper, but you must confirm or verify what you put on paper is displayed in the heavens. Remember, the word of God, who is the living word, told you that the heavens and the earth are his witness. And for those who have not, watch the 12th New Moon Report and update your calendar as the following. And keep in mind about the next upcoming month, because we does not know at this time whether we're going to have a 1st or 13th month. And if we have any pictures to share, we will share with you if time permits. Okay, so the next one we're going to go to, we're going to look at the homework first. And we are in 1 Enoch chapter 72. I'm just opening my book now. Let me open it up. I have a lot of stuff on my desk. We're going to look at number 11 and 12. Number 11 and 12. Actually, I gave the wrong number. We're going to look at number 10. Yeah, number 10. Number 10. For number 10, how many hours do y'all calculate for daylight having 10 parts and night having 8 parts?
I have 12 hours and 40 minutes for the day, and Naya had 11 hours and 20 minutes.
That is correct. And for those who are new or joining with us the first time, we learned from Enoch's writings that a part is 40 minutes. And how we figure this out, based on our observation in the heavens and our past calendar records, that's how we would determine how many parts, what a part represent. So a part represent 40 minutes. You have to watch the prior videos. That's a part 1, 2, and 3 to learn how we came to this knowledge. Okay. So for the answer for number 10, daylight, which is 10 parts, is 12 hours and 40 minutes. And night, which is 8 parts, is 11 hours and 20 minutes. And when we add these two numbers together, you should get 24 hours. Okay, so I need to put that in there as we're going. Okay. Now, the Father is reminding me to share this with you. Now, when you go out and observe these things, it may not be exact because remember, the earth has shifted, and there's tons on YouTube. There's tons of video on YouTube that will confirm this as well for those who use the heavens to keep up with time. Okay, as written in Genesis 1, verse 14. Also, our Father spoke himself. So when you watch part 1, 2, and 3, I do go to his prophetic messages showing you where our Father spoke this himself, of that the earth has shifted. So this is why you may have a slight variation, but you're going to see it still see the root there. You know, you're still going to see about 12 hours and 40 minutes. It may be a couple minutes more or a couple minutes less, but you will see that it still come close to these numbers. All right, now we'll go to the next one. We're going to go to number 12. For number 12, what do y'all calculate the hours to be?
13 hours and 20 minutes.
And what do you get for night?
10 hours and 40 minutes.
Correct. So daylight for number 12, because it has 11 parts, it shall be 13 hours and 20 minutes. And night, because it has 7 parts, it shall be 10 hours and 40 minutes. Okay. Now for number 14, we did that together while I was in class. And this is when daylight is double to night. So daylight is 12 parts, and that come out to be 14 hours. And night is 6 parts, and that come out to be 10 hours. Okay. Then we're going to the next one. And those who are new who join with us, don't worry about these notes, okay? I will get with you so you can get caught up. All right. For number 15, and not number 15, number 16 we did together in class. We said that daylight is 11 parts. So by being 11 parts, it's going to be 13 hours and 20 minutes. And night, which is 7 parts, it's going to be 10 hours and 14 minutes. This is your foundation. Okay. This is what was set in the beginning. Number 18, we did together in class. Number 18, we got daylight being 12 hours and 40 minutes, and night being 8 parts, 11 hours and 20 minutes. Let me look at some. Just want to make sure that it flow correctly. You may have to relook at number 18. I don't think I put the right number in. I have to relook at that. No, okay, yes, we did. I'm sorry, y'all. My eyes be jumping. For some reason, I'm thinking we go from 1320 to 1240. I'm thinking that we increasing, but we are decreasing. So it is correct. My apologies. So number 18, daylight would be 10 parts, which is 12 hours and 40 minutes, and night would be 8 parts, which is 11 hours and 20 minutes. Okay. Number 20, we look at number 20. We did this in class. Now, this is what's really going to help you, because everybody across the board knows that when the sun equal into the 12th sign, and I believe it's the 6th sign, that is known as your equinox. Your equinox. Now, FYI, when the sun enters into the 6th sign, that is your tequafah. That is the end of the year of the sun's circuit. This FYI, when you're looking at the terms that we have in English compared to what we have in Hebrew. But remember, the word tequafah is only applied to the end of the circuit year, or the end of the sun circuit, or the sun's year. Okay. But today in English, they call these 2 points the equinox, because on this day, that's when you have daylight equal to night. So everybody across the board knows that we have 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night, because when you add these 2 hours together, you will get 24, which makes a whole day. And we learn from Genesis chapter 1, a whole day unto Yahuwah is made up of evening and morning, which is darkness and daylight. Okay? Because even when the sun was created, notice it did not change the terminology. It still say evening and morning. So when you meditate and you study on these things, you will learn that morning means daylight. But when the sun was created, the sun created phases of that daylight, which we have morning, noon, and afternoon. And then the going down of the sun. Okay? So when daylight is 6 parts, okay, I'm sorry, it should be 9 parts, not 6 parts. When daylight is 9 parts, it'll be 12 hours. And when night is 9 parts, it shall be 12 hours. And that's number 20. Now for number 22. For number 22, how many hours would daylight be and how many hours will night be?
I have, okay, well, I have 11 hours and 20
Speak up.
minutes.
Speak
Sorry,
up a little bit.
I have 11 hours and 20 minutes for a day, and then night I have 12 hours and 40 minutes.
That is correct. When you add these 2 together, you should get what? 24 hours. Thank you, my sister. So now we should go on to number 24. Number 24. How many hours would daylight be for 7 parts? And how many hours would night be for 11 parts?
$10 hours and 40 minutes for for day, and night I have 13 hours and 20 minutes.
That's correct. Because when we add these 2 together, it'll be equal to 24 hours. So let me put that in. Almost forgot. Did I put the other one in? Let me make sure. Nope, I didn't. But let me come back to that. So the one we just went over, we said daylight would be for 7 parts, 10 hours and 40 minutes. And night would be 13 hours and 20 minutes. Again, remember, we are studying these formulas based on when things was perfected, when it was perfect. This is the foundation. Okay. And the other one we had just said for number 22, we said daylight would be 11 hours and 20 minutes. And night would be 12 hours and 40 minutes. Okay. Now we're going to number 26. And number 26, this is where we have night this time being double of daylight. So night would be, make sure I'm looking at this right. I don't think this number right, but hold on, let me make sure. It's that night becomes longer and it's double of daylight. So it needs to be reversed. I have my numbers reversed. So night is actually 12 parts, okay? Because night is double, which we learned before. 12 parts is 14 hours. But daylight would be half a night. What's half of 12? 6. So it becomes 6 parts. So 6 parts is 10 hours. Because when 10 add to 14, we get 24 hours. Okay. Make sure we have that one correct. Now we're going to 28. Okay, for number 28, daylight is 7 parts and night is 11 parts. How many hours did y'all get for number 28?
I got 10 hours and 40 minutes for day, and night 13 hours and 20 minutes.
Okay, daylight, you got 10 hours and 40 minutes, right?
Yes.
And then night, you got, I'm sorry, night, you got how much now?
13 hours and 20 minutes.
Correct. That's 24 hours. And what I will do, I will go back and look at these numbers to make sure it's all correct. And then the next time we come back, I give you the update so everybody can have everything. But that's what we have so far. Okay, let us go to number 30. Number 30, daylight is 8 parts and night is 10 parts. How many hours did you get? For daylight and night.
It's 11 hours and 20 minutes, and then night is 14 hours.
I
Hold up.
got
No, sorry.
Okay, wait a minute. Say that again one more time.
I thought maybe it was 11 hours and 20 minutes, and then night was 13 hours and 40. But I no, that's wrong.
Okay,
12
I see
hours
what
and
you're
40.
saying.
Yeah, 12 hours and 40 minutes.
So what would be the correct time for daylight?
Yeah.
What would be the
I got
correct time?
I got 11 hours and 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what you get for night?
Night, I got 12 hours and 40 minutes.
Correct. Because both of these had to add up to be 24 hours. And what my mind is saying, I probably need to put it in a chart where you can really see how it's flowing. But as we're going through these verses, what is happening when you get to an equinox, what you're learning is that daylight will either be longer or shorter than night. So if daylight is longer in one, after it passed one equinox, when you get to the second equinox, it's going to what? Flip. So instead of being longer, daylight would be shorter. But what the equinox represent, what? It gets back on that point and it reset itself. Kind of reminds you of a clock. Okay. So let's put the answer here. We got 11 hours and 20 for daylight, and then we got 12 hours and 40. Okay. Now for verse 31. Verse 32.
I have 12 hours for both.
Because on this is the sun's 12th month. And on this day, which is the 31st day, we have daylight being 12 hours and night would be 12 hours, because daylight is 9 parts and night is 9 parts. And I'm trying to remember why I put 34 equal. Why I put that down. Okay, now that's the formula that comes behind it. Okay. All right, job well done. Pat yourself in the back. And those who are new with us, do not worry, I can get with you so you can have your notes as well. Okay. Now we're going to the juicy stuff now. Y'all ready? Is everyone ready?
Yes, sis. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sis.
All right.
Yes.
So like I was sharing with my brothers and sisters today, it's very important that you read chapters, I think it's 72 through 80, because today we're only going to focus on the verses that deal with whether or not a 13-month exists or does the heaven produce one. Okay. However, we're going to read the whole chapter of 74, but you're not going to stay in 74 until you read 73. So we will be coming back to that chapter after we have read 73 first and breaking down 74. Okay, so until those who are watching this video, just know this: I'm only going to address the verses in chapter 74 that deals with the 13th month, whether we have one or not. Which brings me to this, I almost forgot. Those who've been watching the heaven and the earth, what kind of signs have y'all been seeing going on that would make you wonder if we have a 13th month?
Weather.
Weather? What kind of weather, sis?
It's colder and worse than it normally is.
If it's colder or worse than normal is, what else have you noticed?
Some areas get more snow or impacted by ice more than they normally do.
Okay, so some areas are getting heavily hit by the snow. Now, from our past gathering sessions, what did we learn about what is the purpose of snow? What is the purpose of snow?
Was it to water the plants or crops?
That's correct. The purpose of snow, if we don't have a good snow, then we won't have a good crop to come in for spring, right?
Yes, sis.
Yes, sis.
Okay. What I'm doing, I'm about to share my entire screen. So I had to make sure I had everything set up. So that's why it's taking me a little longer to share my screen. Okay. But we've been seeing some extreme weather conditions. So one of the weather conditions is the snow in some area, especially in what area now, because that has come out in the news now. What area is heavily getting hit with snow? Do y'all remember?
Texas and
Texas.
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
Yep, those two areas, especially Jerusalem. Because what I found so not strange, but what stood out to me, how many years did they say they don't usually get snow like that? How many years ago that has
It was
happened?
like 6-7 years ago.
6.
6 or 7 years ago. So to me, that is a sign we need to be looking at. Okay. That is a sign that we need to be looking at, because by us looking at this, one of the signs, because one of the things that people look at, whether we would have a 13th month, what is one of the things they look in the earth besides the snow, but what is the one of the things that they look at that the snow will affect that's in the earth?
It will affect the grain harvest, specifically the barley and the flax.
Okay, so we're looking at the barley, because for us in the month of Aviv, and in the Babylon tongue they say Nisan, we depend the barley on for what? What holy festival?
Passover.
Passover, also known as what? Feast of Unleavened Bread. And the reason why I link those two together, one of the components we must have for both holy festivals is because we got to have what? Bread. And that bread comes from the grain or from the meat known as barley. Okay. When you learn about these harvests that the Israelite had to do, there are 3 major harvests that they did where they celebrate with a feast. And it's to represent about the gathering, the Exodus. So when you study the biblical scriptures, you will learn that the barley represent the gathering, the resurrection of the Messiah along with the saints that he delivered out of Sheol. That's the first harvest. The wheat harvest represent the bride, the 144, and the nation of Israel, and where the Messiah is going to send the command for the eagle wings to gather them. But there's 2 wilderness. 2 of them are redeemed from the earth, and the other group remains in the earth and go to the wilderness of the holy people, the wilderness of the Israelites. But the other 2 groups go to the wilderness that's in the heaven, known as paradise. Mysteries. Okay. Again, you got to come in the whole writing book to understand each group characteristics. For 2 of them are not given into marriage, for they're like angels. But the other group will be given into marriage, and they will bear children in the earth. It is written. Okay. So that's what the wheat harvest represent. Those who are ready to be taken. Then the last harvest represent dealing with the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot. And you know, Sukkot dealing with what? Enter his house, enter to the place where he dwells. So in the last gathering, you can read more about that through the prophets, such as Isaiah in Isaiah chapter 11, because the Father said, well, I will send my hand again a second time. Remember Revelation 12, there are those who will have to face the beast, who kept the testimony of Yahusha HaMashiach, but they have to face the beast. But after they face the beast and they endure, then they too will be gathered, as written by Isaiah. It's in chapter 11, and I think it's also chapter 65. Mysteries. Okay. So now you begin to understand why the Father wants us to keep these days as a remembrance. It is to remind us not only about the past and the present, but the what yet to come. But there's mysteries in these feasts. There's messages in these feasts. For the carnal and the physical things go in hand with the spiritual. So the carnal things will teach you spiritual things. This is why the Messiah said that the day will come, which is now. We are in that day. We shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Mysteries. All right, so let's get to chapter 74. I hope I didn't. Yeah, I went past it. I'm gonna blow my screen up a little bit more so everyone can see this. All right, and I do need to get a note sheet. I've had to wait till we get to that point. Okay, to my reader one, I want you to read verse 1, 2, and 3.
And I saw another course, a law for her, and how, according to that law, she performed her monthly revolution. All these Uriel, the holy angel who is the leader of them all, showed to me in their positions, and I wrote down their position as he showed them to me. And I wrote down their months as they were, and the appearance of their lights, until 15 days were accomplished. In single seventh part, she accomplishes all her light in the east, and in single seven parts accomplishes all her darkness in the west.
Thank you, my sister. For those who are watching the video, remember we will come back and expound on this in another class section, in another class session. Okay. To my next reader, I will have you to read verse 4, 5, and 6. Reader 2.
And in certain months she altered her setting, and in certain months she pursues her own peculiar course. In 2 months the moon sets with the sun. In those two middle doors, the third and the fourth, she goes out for 7 days and turn about and return again through the door where the sun rises, and all her light is full, and she recedes from the sun, and in the 8th days enter the 6th door from which the sun goes out.
Thank you, reader 2. Now, what she just read into us, those are some verses there you really want to pay attention to, especially verse 4. Verse 4. But you're not going to understand this until you read chapter 73. Okay? To reader 3, I will have you read 7, 8, and 9.
And when the sun goes out from the 4th door, she goes out 7 days, until she goes out from the 5th and turns back again in 7 days into the 4th door, and accomplishes all her light. And she recedes, wait, hold on.
That's right.
And enters into the first door in 8 days. And she returns again in 7 days into the 4th door from which the sun goes out. Thus I saw their position, how the moons rose and the sun set in those days.
Okay. Again, this gonna sound like gibberish unto you. And the fathers reminded me, not only do you have to read 73, you got to read 72, because you're not gonna have any understanding about these doors until you read 72. Again, you have to watch part 1, 2, and 3 to understand all of this. Now that you see, we are building on that foundation. So it's very important that when you study his calendar, you take your time. You start with the basics first, then you build. If you skip over the basics and go into this, you're going to get confused. Do everyone see this now?
Yes, sis.
Okay. So chapter 72 is very important. You have to master that first before you go to the other chapters. Okay. All right. So we are read 7, 8, 9. Okay. Here's the part we're going to take our time and digest. Before we do that, let me get my note sheet out. I forgot to pull up my note sheet, so bear with me. Because we're going to need a little note sheet. This is basically a blank piece of paper. For those, for my family who's on with me now, I just want you to watch, okay? It is taking my computer a little while. I think I got too much open. So I need to see which one I can clean out. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take off that calendar. So let me come back to share my screen and then I'm gonna take that counter off. But before I do, let's see where I'm at. Okay, let me go to my calendar so I can get rid of this. In the video description box is the calendar link to have access to the Father's calendar. And some of these links we will be going to today, just to look at briefly, such as dealing with the lunar epoch. That's another form we were talking about, not in this class session, but in the next to come, okay? But I will let you see what those forms look like. As far as the calendar, here, I did forget to show this at the beginning of our session. So you can see where we at in the week of the Father's calendar. We are in the first week of our Father's calendar, which is the 12th month known as Adar. And this is the 8th day. So now you see in the next upcoming week, we have some biblical events coming up, such as Esther 3-day fast. Also, there was a banquet that Esther put together, known as the wine banquet, and that was a 2-day festival unto them. Then on day 13, we have a day of gladness, because when you read all the books that deals with Esther and Mordecai from the Old Covenant to the Apocrypha, you will learn that they also too was rejoicing in day 13, and you have to see why. But they decided to just keep that as a day of gladness and only have day 14 and day 15 as Purim, okay? Very important to know. So that way you have that. Remember, go to the video description box so you can have access to the Father calendar and also to the Father prophetic messages. In that playlist, listen to the first 8 video, and then I found another one who is prophesying. It's a brother. He's prophesying too, and his video is the last one in that playlist. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off because it's eating up a lot of memory. Okay, so we got our note sheets. All right, to reader 1, I need for you to read verse 10.
And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an axis of 30 days, and all the days which occur to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amounts to 364 days.
Okay, so we get into what? The foundation. So these are word problems. Okay, so I need to take my time and go through this. Excuse me, y'all. It said if 5 years are added together, that means you're going to add 5 years together, right? And they said that when these 5 years are added together, which was dealing with the sun's circuit, it has an excess of 30 days. So we're going to write out 5 years. Okay. And I need to put 10 so we know what verse we're dealing with. So we're dealing with 5 years. Move this thing out my way. And it said in those 5 years, we have an excess of 30 days. Okay. And this is dealing with what? The sun. It's very important that we know what circuit we're dealing with. We're dealing with the sun right now. Then it goes on to say, and all those days which accrue to it for one of those 5 years which are full amount to 364 days. So one of those 5 years, when that year is full, it amounts to 365 days. Okay. So all the days added to it for one of those 5 years when they are full, or when they're in their fullness, amounts to 364, or you can say equal to 364. All right. Now I have the next reading, read verse 11.
And an excess of the sun and of the stars amounts to 6 days. In the 5 years, 6 days every year come to 30 days. And the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days.
Okay. So we're going to write out the notes for number 11. Maybe this is word problems. I do need to go back to 10 for one more thing, because I do need to point this out. I got to read this again. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an excess of 30 days. So when we add these 5 years together, we're going to get 30. I need to write that out so you can see this. So that's representing year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. When you add them up together, I have to do it here on this line. We're going to, it's all these together is going to equal an excess of 30 days. Okay, so that's year 1, year 2. I should put year in front of that number so you can see what I'm talking about. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. If you add them together, they're going to have a surplus of 30 days when you add them all together. Okay. Number 11. When we look at number 11, it says an excess of the sun and of the stars. So it's dealing with these two lights. That is what it's talking about. An excess of the sun and the stars amount to 6 days. So the sun and the stars have an excess of 6 days. Number 11. So it's going to expound what that means, or what does it affect, okay? Then it goes on to say, in 5 years, 6 days every year come to 30 days. Do y'all hear that? In 5 years, 6 days every year come to 30 days, okay? And the moon falls behind the sun and the stars to the number of 30 days. So right here, what it's saying, we got to write it out so we can see it. It said, well, in 5 years. So in every year, it has an excess of 6 days. So year 1, let me take the line off. So year 1, we have excess of 6 days. Year 2, we have the same thing. And we'll just go ahead and copy and paste to make this go quicker. We have an excess of 6 days. Year 3, we have an excess of 6 days. Year 4 would be the same. And then year 5 would be the same. And what happened when we add all these excess of days? What are we going to get?
Extra 30 days.
30 days. Okay, another way to do this, we got 5 years. And we know for each year, we have 6 days. So, let me back it up so you can see the root. So for each year, we would have what? 6 days. So we would take 5 years times 6 days equals 30 days for 5 years. Okay, that's verse 11. Another thing in this verse that it points out unto us, what did it say about the moon, y'all? It said the moon falls behind the sun and the stars by what? 30 days. Okay, by 30 days. So this is very important to know. This is talking about the moon. What does it mean unto y'all when the moon falls behind the sun and stars? What do you think that means? Because it sounds like the sun and the stars got the same thing going on here. They are like what the same, right?
Yes.
Okay. I tell you what, we're gonna keep reading and then we're gonna figure out what that means. Okay. We're gonna find out why the moon fall behind the sun, the stars, a total number of 30 days. Okay. To my next read, I want to read number 12.
And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day to eternity, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days.
Okay. To make this simple for us, I'm just going to copy and paste this because this is telling us some very important information. Do y'all remember when I was saying to you, this is how things were when things was perfect? Y'all remember that?
Yes, sis.
So when y'all see things being done different now, there's a prophecy, okay, that Enoch has that would expound on that. But this is confirming what I've been sharing with y'all on these numbers when we look at first Enoch. This is in the days of perfection. Okay, right here. And that key word, perfect justice. Okay, perfect justice. But let me look at this verse again. It says, and the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly. That means they are on point. They're not lacking, or nor are they over. They do it in exactness. Okay. So that they do not advance. That it means they don't come in early, nor do they come in late. That's very important. So here in this point here, we need to know that the sun and stars, this is including Mazarah, okay? Does not, no, they do not, let me bring this up. Come in early or late, okay? So they do not advance or delay their position by a single day to eternity. So this is even up to eternity. And I like how the author used the word position, because we talk about what? The heavens, their positions in the heaven, where they're located throughout the years. All right. And they're going to do this in perfection, in exactness, every year, on time and never late. So the verse going to say, but they complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. So we're getting the number of their days in their circuit. So 364 is the number of days in the sun and stars circuit, or years, which is represented by which represent perfection. They say perfection, or perfect justice. And Father just remind me now, why would he use the word justice? Because as this time go out with us now, it's going to bring us to what? Justice. Judgment is coming. We got a court date with the Father. So I now see why the author would use justice, perfect justice. Okay, so 364 days is the number of days in the sun and star circuit known as years, which represent what? Perfection or perfect justice. Okay, these are things that are happening when there's no sin or no transgression. That's another key word. No sin and transgressions. Okay. Let's take care of that verse. We're going to look at the next one. All right, let's go to verse 13. To my next reader. I forgot if it's, I don't know if it's reader 1 or 2 or 3.
In 3 years, there are 1,092 days, and in 5 years, 1,820 days. So that in 8 years, there are 2,912 days.
Okay, we're going to pause there. I got a chart for y'all. It's already done. Okay, but we're going to look at this number that he's mentioning in verse 13. He said, well, in 3 years, that's these how many days here? 1092. In 5 years, we have what? 1820 days. Then in 8 years, there are 2912. Now, I'm not going to I'm just going to be straight to the point because I already read a chapter and I have these charts. We are going to take a little shortcut instead of me just breaking down everything step by step. I have already done it. So what you need to focus on, what I'm about to do now, because he's saying what, 3 years, then he said 5 years, then he says 8 years, and we're on verse 13. So let me take you to the chart now. So in the past, I had done a teaching on this because in the year of 2017 and 2018, they did see snow in Israel during the time when it was keeping Passover. So this snow came after the equinox, after the equinox. And when they went out in the lands before they kept this festival, I'm talking about dealing with the Jewish people before they kept it, as well, and our people, thank you, Father, for reminding me. They did check the earth about the barley to see was it ripened for harvest. And in the year of 2017 and 2018, according to what they found, the barley was ripened. That's one of the signs you can use. Okay. Some of these things that's written this note, I will be coming back to you. If not in this class section, we'll come back on the next class session. Okay. But the part I want to get to is to that chart so you can see the breakdown of those numbers. Here we go. First Enoch chapter 74. Okay. Now we just read verse 13, right, y'all? Was it 13?
Yes.
Okay. So I should put here sun and stars right here. I want to put sun, but for right now, for the sake of time, y'all know the stars are included. So for the sun and stars to have a perfected year is usually 364. Okay, that's how the Father made things to be. So in that verse, we learned that in year 3, it had 1092 days. Year 5, we had 1820. And then year 8, we had 2912. 2912. That's for the sun. Okay. Now, let's keep reading. Okay. So that's what these numbers dealing with. It's dealing with the days of the sun. Now, my question unto you, how did I go about getting those numbers? Well, how did not only me, how did this translator or how did Enoch go about getting these numbers? What do y'all think he did? It's if each year is a total of 364.
He just doubled it like each year. Like third year was what he said, the 1092, and then 2 years later he just doubled it. The
Okay.
364.
I need for you to be a little more specific.
Okay. So he just times 364 2 times to make up for those 2 years. So like on the third year was 1092, and then he got
Okay.
to.
So let me help you. How many days does the first year have, based on what this verse told us?
364. Oh, the first year was 10.
Okay. In the second year, how many days would it have to this year?
364.
364. But we're adding them as we go along, right?
Oh, then you double it.
Okay. So instead of this adding this number to itself each time, what can we do? What did we learn in
Multiply.
math? We can multiply.
Yeah.
Years times days, right? That's the
Yes.
formula. Okay. So I'm going to take this out now. And I'm going to put here years times days equal total number of days or total number of years. Okay.
Yes, when he doubled it, it was like 728. So that's how he got the next number.
Okay. So when we get to the third year, what do we have to do to figure out what's the total number of days when we get to
Double
the
it.
third year?
You
Will we
times it.
double?
Yeah.
Multiply what? We're going to multiply what numbers?
364 times 2.
Okay. My cursor on number 3. That's where I'm at now. So how many total number of days for when we get to year 3?
3.
1092.
And how do we get that number?
We did 364 times 2.
Times 3.
364 times 2. 3.
I mean 3.
We're in
So,
year 3.
yeah, 3.
Uh-huh. Okay. So that's how we got it. Now do y'all see the pattern?
Yeah.
So when we get to year 5, I probably put year before these numbers when y'all come back and look at these notes. Or put something like, let me put down first, year. So when we get to the 5th year, what do we have to do? When we get to the 5th year.
He did when you did 1092, you just add 728 because they times it twice. 364 times 2.
Okay. So what's a shorter way of doing this?
Okay. So
4 times 5.
the shorter way.
4 times 5.
4 times 5. Oh, right here. Here go your formula basis.
364 times 5.
364 times 5. That's how we do it. What number did Enoch say that was? Yeah, let me see here. Let me go back up.
1,820. 1,820.
1,000. You said 1,820?
Yes.
Okay. So when we get to the 8th year, how will we set that up?
You do the same. You do 364 times 8.
Times 8. And how many days is that?
And that was
2,912.
2,900 and what?
12.
Okay. And this is dealing with what lights? What lights are we dealing with these
the
numbers?
sun.
Sun and
The
stars.
sun.
Okay. So we're dealing with the sun and stars. This is very important to know. Okay. That's the number of days they were having their circuit when things was what? Imperfection. Perfection. Okay. Because we know number 7 means what? Perfection. Also sanctified. Holy. Okay. Because I remember, let me share this with y'all. I think 364 can be divided by 7. It was some number I looked at. And make sure I do my math right. Yes, I'm going to cheat today because my brain don't feel like thinking. If we take 364
It's
divided by
52, sis. 52.
52, what? 52 weeks, right? Because 7
Yes.
days represent 52 weeks. Do y'all see that? We know number 7 is perfection. Just like when he showed me 21, he said this is a season of 21. When I broke it down, 21 is multiples of 7 3 times. So the 7 to the 3rd power is 21. Perfection. Perfection. So 7 means perfection. There is a 7-day 1,000 prophecy coming that will bring things back into its perfection. Ezra's talk about in his writings. Even the Jewish have it in their writings, and that's another Israelite that have it in his writings. And we will be coming back to the timeline chart that I showed y'all a while back to see about the 7,000 year prophecy. But there is a 7,000 year prophecy that has not come into its fullness yet. Okay. Now we see why. I ain't gonna lie. Verse 12 be sticking out to me. It said what? Perfect justice. And it's so ironic to me. I mean, I put like this. It's not by coincidence that that word translate into perfect. Perfect. And it ties back into number 7. You know, 7 days equals a week. How many weeks do we have in the calendar? How many weeks are in the calendar month?
52.
52, but I'm talking about when you look at your calendar.
Oh.
Your
In a
calendar,
month.
how many weeks do we have in a month?
4.
4.
4. So how many Sabbaths do we have?
4.
4. How many new moon days we have?
4.
4. 4?
Oh no.
Y'all be having me laughing.
One.
One new moon day. So we have a new moon day, which is representing what? The 11th, right? Like I said, I'm gonna be quizzing y'all throughout this whole stuff. Everything we learning, don't mean forget it. We building on it, right? Then we have what? 4 Sabbaths, 4 days of rest. 4 days of rest in the month. Then we have the end, which is what? The tall. And that's the last day of the month. And when the moon is in perfection, what do y'all think that last day of the month is when the moon is in perfection?
Which day?
Mm-hmm.
Is it
When the moon is
30th?
in perfection.
31st.
Say it with confidence. Say it with
30?
confidence about the moon now.
30?
The 30th day.
Yes.
Okay. That's when the moon is in its perfection. That's how it was in the beginning. And we have proof of that when you go back to Torah and the prophecies. Again, you cannot use the Gregorian calendar to understand the prophecies that are written in the word of Yah. You have to use this calendar. Okay? But here, day of perfection of the moon. Okay? I just want to give y'all that nugget. Okay? All right? So we look at the month in the Most High calendar. Because remember, these three lights makes up his calendar. The sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth, and each light has a certain role in the calendar. But to understand the calendar in its wholeness, we have to study each part. Okay? All right. So we have three parts that make up the calendar. We have the new moon day, then after the new moon, which is the 11th, that means the first, the beginning of the month. Then we have, come after that, we have four Sabbaths. Okay. Then after that, we have what? The end, which is the Tom. And when its moon is in its perfection, it will fall on the 30th day. Okay. We can bring this up so everybody can see. All right. So let me go back to the chart here. So we got to read the next verse. So someone read verse 14.
For the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years to 1,062 days, and in 5 years she falls 50 days behind the sum of 1,770. There is 5 to be added, 1,062 days.
Okay, so it says here, now this is talking about the moon now. Okay, verse 13 was talking about the sun and the stars. It said, for the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years, 1,062. And in 5 years, she's going to fall 50 days behind the sum of 1,770. There is 5 to be added, 1,062. See if I think we may need to read verse 15. Yeah, read verse 15 too.
And in 5 years, there are 1,770 days, so that for the moon, the day 6 is 8 years amount to 21,832 days.
See, we got a lot of math here. Not hard math, but when they throw a lot of numbers at you, you got to figure out, okay, what these numbers represent. So let's go back to the chart. Now, one thing you have to know, and I can't remember if we read further down, if we read further down the chart, if we know the number of days of the moon, it gives it somewhere, but I think it's further down. But for the sake of time, how many days does the moon have in this year in the time of perfection?
354 days.
360. 360.
Right here. And I probably need to highlight this so y'all can actually see. So when it's in the time of perfection, the moon actually had 360 days. Now, when you get, especially to Daniel prophecies, you usually have to take the number of those days and divide by 30 to see how many months and years you're dealing with. And this is where it comes from. Also, one of the sisters that reached out to me, she shared me that when she read Genesis in the time of the flood of Noah, when she added up the time, she said, well, where the month days are 30 days. And I said, yes, you are correct. Okay. But as time went on, we see what? A change taking place. So I understand why someone would say 354 now, because if you're keeping record, you either get 354, 355. Okay. But we're looking at right now at the foundation when things was perfect. All right. So now that we know that the moon has 30 days in its month, and we also know that the moon has 360 days in its year, how did we get 1,062 362, y'all. In other words,
Is it 350
you talk
times 3?
it's
Hmm?
3.
Is it 354 times 3?
Okay, I'm talking about in the time of perfection. In the time of perfection,
360.
360, right?
Yes.
So let me bring this down. And we're dealing with verse, oh, let me change this over. Okay, we're in verse, I want to say verse 14 and 15. I'll put these two together. No, I'll put 14. Then we come back to 15. For verse 14, we're dealing with the moon. Okay. So in this first year, it's going to have 360, right? So what happens? How many days would I get when it gets to its third year?
1080.
Okay, let's see, does that match up for what we got in the records?
If you do 354 times 3, it gets 1062. I'm right in my head. Hold up. 3, 5 plus the 3.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
When you got 10, 8.
Yeah, because 3
Let me
times.
go to my chart. Let me go to my chart. Okay, so 354 times 3.
3.
Okay,
Yeah, 160.
so
Yeah, 62.
so when the moon was in perfection, it would have been 380. But Enoch gave us the number 1062. Now, if it wasn't for sure in the number of days of the moon or what Enoch was working with, another way to work with this is how many months are in a year?
12.
12. And then he gave you 3 years, right?
Yes.
I'm trying to think
36.
what be a simple
36.
math. Let's see here. I wonder what that give me, what I'm looking for. Okay, 1062 divided by 36. That would give me 29.5 days per month. And if I take it times 12, so let me write this in the notes so y'all can see it. So he gave us 1062 days, right? Because I do need to show this because that's a good thing that we did for those who are new. Because normally we would have taken 360 days times 3, and we would have gotten 1080. Okay. But Enoch said, if it's not that, it's 1062. Okay. So what we have to do is convert it to get an idea of how many days per year. Okay. So what I did, I knew that was what he said in 3 years. So in 3 years, I know there's 12 months per year. We have 12 months per year. But Enoch said in 3 years, we're going to have 1,062 days. So to get an idea how many days per year we're going to have, I have to take 3 times 12 equals 36 months. Okay. And then I would take that number and take 1062 days divided by 36 months equals 29.5 days per month. That's how many days in the month we have. And today we can see that when y'all go look at like time and date. Do y'all not see that number? 29.5? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So now we see where the 29.5 come from, because Enoch said that for the moon, she only has a total of 1,062 days. Okay. Now that I know that, I can figure out how many days per year. So my days per year, I take 29.5 days times 12 months equals 354 days. So for the moon, when we look at the third year, I'm going to put this in red so y'all can have it. It's not 360. It's not 360. We're dealing with 354. 354. And when we take 354 times 3, we're going to get 1062. Okay. Now, I'm going to give y'all a nugget because I see the number before me. The moon is what? 354 days, right? Right?
Yes, sis.
Right, sis.
And the sun and the star years are 364.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference of days between those years?
10.
10 days. I'm going to put this in here because you're going to see this number again. It is something to put it back in your mind. You're going to see this number again. So they have what, a 10 days difference, right?
Yes. Yes.
So the moon fall behind the sun and stars by 10 days in its first year.
Oh, yes.
We're
Yep.
getting close to answer that question, right? We're getting close of what that means. Something to think about, because y'all have seen that number before. We had read it in one of the books. Okay.
Yes.
Just want to give you that nugget because we're going to come back to it. Matter of fact, I need a copy and paste it for down below so I can remind myself. We're going to come back to that number. It's a nugget right there. All right. So let me see what else this verse say. In verse 14, then it goes on to say, in 5 years, she falls 50 days behind to the sum of 770. There is 5 to be added, 1,062. Okay, so it's dealing with this number here up top. So we're going to find out what this means. So we're going back to the chart. And matter of fact, I'm going to give y'all a copy of this chart too, so don't worry about that. All right. So what it's saying unto us, when we get to 5th year, right here, someone subtract 1820 from 7 from 1770 and see what you get. Because
50 when I do it.
50 days.
Yes.
Yes, 50 days. Now, when we break this down, you have to look above to see the breakdown. It gives you the total number of days that the moon would be behind the sun and the stars, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how we got the number, let's first deal with the number 770. How did we get that numbers 1770 first? Let's tear down that mountain first. So we already know. Go ahead, sis.
354 times 5.
And what do you get?
I got 1770.
That's how we got that number. Everybody clear on that? So when the moon get into its 5th year, we take 354 days times 5 years will equal 1770. I do need to put down my years so y'all know what units we're working with. Okay. Everybody clear on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, the next thing we're going to look at is the breakdown, because then this verse here, it goes on. Not only just talk about the 50 days that the moon would be behind the sun and the stars, but then it says that it's 5 to be added to 1,062. Okay. And then when we get to verse 15, it goes on to say, in 5 years, there are 1770 days. So that for the moon, the days 6 and 8 years. Okay, that's done with the 8 years. Okay, so we'll pause there. We're gonna get on that part. I was jumping ahead. But let's go back to the sheet here, to the chart. So I'm gonna show you where you get your numbers from. In the 3rd year, when we compare the days of the sun and the stars to the days of the moon, what I did, I took the moon days minus the sun days. So in that 1st year, we can see that the moon is 30 days behind. Do y'all see that?
Yes.
Then when we get in the 5th year, what happened is I took the days of the moon, which is that 1770, minus from the days of the sun. Okay. We get a difference of 50 days, but what I did, I broke it down. I took 50 from 30. Do y'all see that? In year
Yes.
3, it was 30 days. In year 5, it was 50 days. So if I look at the difference between the 3rd and the 5th year, I get 20 days. Okay. So what it's saying to me, when the moon completes its 3rd year, okay, it's already going to be behind the sun and the stars for 30 days. Okay, that's in its 3rd year. In addition to that, by the time it gets to the 5th year, it's going to be an addition of 20 more to be behind. So when you look at the breakdown of each year, we'll just go back to the sheet. Remember I told you that number 10 will come in handy? It's like 10 days per year. The moon is getting further and further behind. But we adding what, 10 to every year. Let me show you the number. 1st year, the moon is behind the sun 10 days. 2nd year, it's behind the sun and the star 10 days, which equals what? 20. Because what? 10 plus 10 is 20. Do y'all see that?
Yes, sis. Yes.
Okay. So in other words, I can take 10 times 2 equals 20 days. So when you get in year 2, the moon will be behind the sun a total, because remember, we're adding as we go along from year to year, a total of 20 days. Then when the moon gets to the 3rd year, okay, we'll have to put this like in a different font or something so you know that's below that. We'll put this in here so you know that follows that one. So when we get to the 3rd year, What's 10 times 3?
30.
Equals 30 days. Do y'all see the connection?
Yes.
I better put that in red, and I better bring it beside it so that way y'all have it. So when we get to the 4th year, it'll be the same thing. We adding what in numbers of 10. 10 also means completion in the heavenly realm. And in the heavens, we have 10 levels of heavens. And in the 10th level, this is where our Father throne room is. I love how he talking his numbers. He speaks volumes. So when we get to the 4th year, the moon is also behind the sun an additional 10 days. So we got to keep adding. So 10 times 4 years give us what?
40.
40 days. So when we get to the 5th year, and I want to make this or underline this one so you can see it better. So when we get to this one in the 5th year, and we take 10 times 5, what's 10 times 5, y'all?
50.
50 days. Makes sense, don't it?
Yes.
And when we subtract the 3rd year from the 5th year, we get a difference of 20 days. You're going to see these numbers again. That's why we're going over it. Okay. And I'm probably going to space this out so all this stuff is not mumbled together. All right. So now we go back and look at verse 15. But before we do that, we're going to close this part on out. So when we get to the 6th year, we will have, I'm just going to copy and paste this so I can update it. What is 6 times 10, y'all?
60.
60. So the moon is behind the sun and the stars for a total of 60 days. What is in the 7th year? What is 7 times 10?
70.
So the moon is the moon is behind the sun and the stars for 70 days. Now we're gonna get to the 8th year, the nitty-gritty. And let me go ahead and change this number to 354 so we won't confuse ourselves. Okay. So when we go back to verse 15, it said, now in 5 years, there are 1,770 days. And that's true because we added, no, we multiplied. And we multiplied 354 days times 5 years, and we got 1,770. Then it goes on to say, so that for the moon, the days 6 in 8 years amount to 21,832 days. So it's giving you the total number of days that the moon will have when it gets to 8 years. Okay. So we're going to read verse 16 in addition to that so we can see the complete picture. It says, oh, to my next reader, can you read verse 16?
For in 8 years she falls behind to the amount of 80 days, and all the days she falls behind in 8 years are 80.
Okay. So What's 354 times 8 years, y'all?
Twenty 2832. 2832.
So we get 2832. And you know what? I think in his writings, he had a typo here. Because I think if you go to First Enoch in Charles' writings, it was corrected. But let me check that out right now so we can get that confirmed. There's a way to get around this. Okay, this is a translation by Charles, by R.H. Charles. Okay. I'm trying to make sure I got the right person because it's another translation. Okay. No, this is by, I believe this is by Lawrence. Lawrence also did a translation of Enoch's writings, but I'm looking for the one by Charles. Okay. This is the one by Charles, R.H. Charles. And we'll go to chapter 74. And we was on verse what? 15, right? Yep, it was a typo in the author. So the author in his copy has a typo. You see right here, I'm gonna highlight this verse for you. Verse 15, it says that in 5 years there are 1,770 days. So that for the moon, the days in 8 years amount to 2,832. Okay, and y'all should have the link to Charles' copy too, where you can compare. Okay. So did everybody see that? It should be 2,832.
Yes.
Okay. Let me make sure I have it updated in my copy. Yeah, it should be that. So it's always good to have one-to-one translation of a certain copy to verify the numbers are correct. Because as you can see, human error can happen. Okay. So this number is correct. So in his copy, this number needs to be correct because you can tell he made a typo. The one was typed there by accident. So it should be 2,832. Okay. So we learned in verse 16 that for in the 8th year of the moon, she falls behind the sun and the stars, which equals to a total of 80 days. And all the days she fall behind in 8 years are 80. Okay. I'm gonna have someone to read the last verse, and then we're gonna expound on why. We're gonna expound on what happened or what does it mean that she falls behind. You know, what's gonna be impacted. Okay. Can someone read verse 17?
And the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world station and the station of the sun, which rise from the doors through which the sun rises and sets 30 days.
Okay, so it is ending with this. The year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations and the stations of the sun, which rise from the doors through which the sun rises and sets 30 days. As you read this verse here, it's just reminding me, you got to know 72 and you got to know 73 to understand this last verse. But it's just confirming to us that this is how the year accurately completes itself as they what? Do these changes, do these stations that they are in, from which they rises and from which they set. And notice here, they follow the leader, they follow the sun. So the sun goes out first. That is the rule. Then the other lights. Okay. So now let's get back to this chart over here. So I'm going to copy and paste this. Let's see what you need. And I will copy and paste the extra stuff that's below this chart for you. That's just some of you if you have spare time. But in the King James 611 Bible, there's an almanac listed. And with that almanac listed, it will prove unto you that the Gentiles been using Enoch's formulas, even though they don't have the full understanding of Enoch's formulas. But this is how they're able to set their heathen dates close to our dates. This is how they keep their pagan day known as Easter in the springtime. Okay. So when you, for those who have a copy of the 1611, there's an almanac there, and you will see Enoch's formulas being used. But remember, they don't have the full understanding of these formulas. Far as the word Easter, it's a word corruption, not the correct word transliteration. For when you look in the Aramaic copy, as well as there's another Bible out here by Hallelujah Scriptures, that also will put the correct translation. And if you go in the Strong Concordance, you will find that Easter really means Passover. I mean, the word Passover should be inserted where Easter is, okay? Because even in the Greek tongue, they say Pascha. They don't have Easter when you're doing transliteration, going from the Hebrew to the Greek to Old English into modern English, okay? So I thought that'd be very interesting if you have spare time. So what I will do, I will make a copy of this. But to close out the verse that we read dealing with the 8th year, what is saying unto us that the moon is behind the sun a total of 80 days. And how we figure this out is that we take the total number of days of the moon in 8 years minus the total number of days of the sun and the stars, which is 2912. And we'll get a difference of 80 days. And if you break this down, if you break down the 8 years, okay, in the 3rd year, we have the moon being behind the sun and the stars 30 days. But when we get to the 5th year, if I'm looking at this right, oh, okay. If I'm looking at this right, I'm sorry, I'm misreading this. It says for 8 years, from the 1st year to the 8th year, when you add 30 days to 50 days, you get 80 days. So it's looking from the 1st to the 3rd year, that total is 30 days behind. So when it gets to the 8th year, we have 50 more days to go. Okay, and that's how we got 50. So if you add 30 to 50, you get 80 days. A simpler way to look at this, y'all, to make it simplified for y'all, just know that the moon is getting behind the sun and the stars by 10 days each year. 10 days. So if you take 10 times 8, you get 80. And that's why we did it over here on our note sheet. So when we get to the 8th year, I need to include that. So when we get to the 8th year, eight times 10 days is what, y'all?
80.
80 days. Do y'all see that now? Or what Enoch is telling us?
Yes.
Now, this is something you're going to have to go back and meditate and study. I'm going to make a copy of this chart right now for your notes so you can go back and study. Okay. Which brings us to this, so we can close this out for today. Oh, let me let this. Oh, I got one. Okay, hold on. I gotta let someone in. Where is it? Let's see. I'm trying to see where she's at. Okay. I'm gonna have to tell her. Try again. I didn't see her. Let's see here. Sorry about that, y'all. Just hold on. Okay, hopefully she'll come back in. Okay. So while I'm waiting for her to come back in, the next part I'm going to show you is we're going to answer the question about why you think the what does it mean that the moon we get behind the sun. Okay. So let me give her a few minutes because it's hard for me to let her back in when I'm on that share screen. And I'm trying to see. I tell you what, when she come back in, if y'all see me stopping my screen, do you know why? Okay, but let us keep going. Okay. Let's see here. All right, so let's get back to the notes. So this is a question that we need to address right here. So if the sun and the stars year ends in 364 days and the moon year ends in 354 days, by looking at these two numbers, what's going to happen, y'all?
The moon will be behind the
Won't see
sun.
this. You won't see the sun for 10 days.
Okay, in a way you really hit it on it, brother. The sun and the stars would not start.
The moon.
Huh?
I meant to
Huh?
say.
No. You're right. You said, okay. You really hit on. You said we won't see the sun and the star for 10 days, but we left out a important unit or a word. Hold on, y'all. Got to put this in here.
Oh, all right. My apologies.
You really hit on it. You just left out the unit. The unit was, you said we won't see the sun and the stars for 10 days. Well, we won't see the sun and the stars start its year until 10 days later. Do y'all see that?
Yes.
Think about it. If the moon is in its year 10 days earlier than the sun, let me type what my brother said, because that was perfect way to say it. Okay, will not see the sun and stars start their year until 10 days after the moon starts its year. Okay. So if the moon is starting its year before the sun and the stars, y'all, what's going to happen when we learn what is running the road of the sun and the stars? Let's go through the list. Huh?
There'll be no daylight. It'll be darkness.
Okay, that's one of their function. But what else does the sun and the stars do together? What is their role in the calendar? These two lights work together to tell us what?
The time, the evening when it's like morning.
Okay. Let me make this. Okay, I'm trying to think of the question to ask y'all so y'all can understand what I'm asking. The sun and the stars, they work together. What is the part of the calendar they work together in to tell us what?
When the moon, when the day begins and then when the month begins.
Okay, that's dealing with an individual light. I'm talking about them working together. There's something that the sun and the stars do together. It's something
So-
that the sun and Nazaroth do together.
Seasons.
The year.
Seasons, 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 seasons. Remember, the moon has to what? Begin in the correct seasons, right? So the sun and stars tell us when the seasons begin and end. Very important. What are the seasons? Remember, that's four divisions. What are the 4 divisions?
Spring, summer, fall, and winter.
Correct. And that's dealing with what? Because of the events of the flood. Remember, he said we would have something in the 7th month, the 10th month, the 1st month, and the 3rd month. Okay. And notice how that when you look at the sun month, these signs happen on the last day of each month. The last day of each month, which is what we have. Let me write this down. We have spring, which dealing with what? The spring equinox, right?
Yes.
Then we have summer, which deal with the summer solstice. Then we have fall, which deal with the fall equinox, also known as Tekafah. Tekafah is different now. It's dealing with the ending of the sun year. Tekafah. Oh, are you guys? Okay, yeah. Y'all seeing my screen, right?
Yes.
I cannot spell that word. So, but you now know what I'm talking about. I know it begins with a T. T-E-C, Tekwa. I think it's T-E-Q.
I think you had it as Tekufah.
Oh, thank you, sis. A-H, okay. Tekwa. Then we have winter, which is the winter solstice. And this is very important to remember. In the sun month, the sun don't enter into that sign until the last day, which is what, according to when time's perfect, it was in the 31st day. The 31st day. Okay. Do y'all see that now? So when that happens, this is how you get your spring equinox, because it's at the sun end of the month. 31st day or what? End of the month. So what we learned from the prior sessions, that when the sun enter into that sign of Mazaroth, this is how we get our spring equinox, our summer solstice, then our fall equinox known as Tekafah, and then our winter solstice. And when it does it on the last day of its month, which fall on the 31st day. And after that sun completes that action, then your next day will be what? Spring. Then your next day after the summer solstice will be your summer. Same thing after fall equinox, the next day will be fall. With the winter solstice, after that day, the next day will be the beginning of winter. Okay. So another way to remember is to remember, and how I could best remember that. I remember by the way of the flood, the 7th month, 10th month, on 1st month, and then 3rd month of the sun. Okay. So going back to this, when the moon is behind the sun, what we're saying that the moon is starting its year 10 days early before the sun and the stars. So when it's doing that, what's going to happen, y'all?
Repeat that again.
Okay, let me say this again. I want y'all to really listen up now. What is this saying unto us? When the moon starting its year 10 days before the sun and the stars start its new year.
It's out of place.
What did that mean? In other words, why are they looking for the barley to be ripened?
Oh, you have to add the additional month. Is that right?
I'm giving you the reason why they're adding the additional month. But if you having
Because
your
the barley
moon,
isn't right.
huh?
The barley isn't right.
The body's right. Why? Is it because of the season that it's in? When they're
Yes.
looking at it?
Yeah.
All right. So if the moon is starting in a season when the sun even has not even started its season, in other words, when the sun starts its new year, it tells us when what? Spring begins. That's the new year, right?
Yes.
New year. But if the moon is starting before the new year, what's going to happen? Huh? What's going to happen?
That's to me. You like with the 13th month you talking about? Like the
Wouldn't
13th?
the night be longer?
If you didn't have the 13th month, what's going to happen?
Then the spring will start, and then the barley might not be ripe.
Moon year going to start in winter. So you're going to have Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread in winter, and you have no barley.
Yes.
So you'll be out of season. Okay? Because the way that this is worded, okay, when you think behind, I'm thinking that it's coming in after the sun, but no. What it's telling us, because the moon has shorter amount of days in this circuit, and the sun and stars have more days in this circuit or more days in this year, the moon is going to start early. And the law said, no, the sun is to what? Start first. The sun is the he, and the moon is the she.
I get
She
it.
is to follow after the sun. You see it?
Yeah, I get it.
Remember that foundation?
Yep.
So the heaven will produce a moon. Will produce a moon. So what we're going to do, we're going to come back, because this is going a little bit over the 2 hours now. We're going to come back because I got to go to time and date and show you what's going to happen, because according to Enoch's calculations, next week when we come back, we're going to talk about the 358 cycle. Quick question. Where do I get the 358 cycle from, y'all? We just talked about it. Where I get it from? Hint, hint.
And there with the year.
Enoch.
Enoch's telling you that in these years, it's telling you how many days the moon would be behind the stars and the sun. He's telling you that. Okay. And he said that you would really notice it when you get to what? The 3rd year, the 5th year, and the 8th year. And then that cycle starts all over again. Which is I had copied that part with the chart right here. So when it said the cycle starts all over again, we're going to end on this point. What it's saying, Year 1 pass, year 2 pass, year 3 pass, year 4 pass, year 5 pass, year 6 pass, year 7 pass, year 8 pass. Now, according to Enoch, when the moon get behind the sun and the star for 30 days, this is when we should add a 13th month to keep her what? In line with the seasons. So this would be cycle 3. Okay. Then when we get to the 5th year, she does the same thing again. So we got to add what? Another 13th month. So this will be cycle 5. A 13th month has to be added to keep her in line with the season, because there's 2 major feasts we have to make sure they're in their proper season. That's Passover and that's Feast of Tabernacles. When you get those 2 aligned, guess what? Your Pentecost gonna fall in summertime, because the wheat and the grapes are only ripe in summertime. So if you get these 2 seasons right in the proper place, then Pentecost automatically gonna fall in the right season. Very important. Y'all see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a pattern on how you know when to add your 13th month. This is a calculation, and it will not change. So guess what going to happen after you get to year 8? It starts over like a clock. You got year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8. Now, when we come back, this is the we're gonna go over my records, because I had to figure out what year we had a 13th month, because there are some years where when you look at people's records, it would seem like you should add it, okay? But you have to look at the whole picture, and it has to fall in this formula. For example, if we have a 13th month in the year of 2015 to 2016, when is the next time I'm supposed to have a 13th month? Okay, the next time I'm supposed to have a 13th month, 2017 to 2018. Do y'all see that? It's a 2-year difference. So I add 2 years to 2015 to 2016. Same thing over here. If I'm going to have a 13th month in my 8th year, it would be the year of 2020 to 2021. Then back down here, it starts over again. How many years come after 8? 3 years. So the next one will be in the year of 2023 to 2024. So again, whoever's telling you when that 13th month is, ask them for a calendar record of 10 years of their keeping and see if they're following the pattern of 3, 5, and 8. We're going to talk about this again when we come back. That is part 2. The pattern of 3, 5, and 8. Do y'all see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So again, it's go back looking at people calendar records, because people would try to slip one on you. One year they talking about, okay, this the year. Then a year later they would say, oh no, we got to do a 13th month. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't keep the proper records, they're gonna have you keeping it out of season in the wrong time, because Enoch give you the formula. So going back, I think I'll see if anything I need to show you in this chart. I don't think it's anything else for right now. Yes, I do. Thank you, Father. So I'm going to read a scripture, and this should really jog your memory about number 10. And it's the most famous one that many Israelites go to. And it's one of the things I look at. Okay. Jubilees chapter 6, verse 36. For it says, there will be those who will surely make observation of the moon. Who are those making observation? People like us, keeping records. Now it disturbed the season and come in from year to year, what? 10 days too soon. How do we get that number? We took 364 minus 354. Do y'all see this? How it all line up. So it's saying unto us, if we don't make the correction, this is what will happen from year to year to year to year. Verse 37, for this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day, the day of testimony, and an unclean day, a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy. But they will go wrong as the months and Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees. So what this is saying, if you never made any correction at all, you never added 13th month, you will see the moon coming in early 10 days too soon. But that 10 days is going to add from year to year to year. Now, do y'all see this?
Yes.
So we putting the
Yes.
pieces of the puzzle together. And that's one of the things I do look at. I look at the difference of the moon year versus the difference of the sun year. And this in lesson 1 of does a 13th month exist? Yes, it does, because Enoch gave us the formula. Enoch told us. And when you study Genesis and you study Enoch's writings, you will learn that each light has a role. And the role of the moon is to declare unto us the months. And it also declare unto us what days of the months are holy unto the Father, which are the new moon days, the Sabbath days, and the holy feast days. That is the role of the moon, which is confirmed by the witness in the Apocrypha, Ben Sirach, Book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 43. Chapter 43. Do y'all see how all this is coming together? And who again is telling us these things? The prophets.
Yes.
The prophets. The Ruach came upon them and they prophesied these things unto us. So we should go to what the prophets say first before running to other sources. Now you're beginning to understand the book of Jubilees, because now I'm seeing what the Father's letting me know. There are people misinterpreting that verse because we did the math. And the math showed us that as you go through each year of the moon, she is 10 days behind. And those 10 days are adding up. Okay. All right. Join us again in our next session. We hope that you enjoyed this section and got an understanding of the 13th month, but we're still not done. For there's a part 2 that will be coming out to give you confirmation. And if you don't believe us, nor the prophets, then go to the heavens, observe these things, and count the moons, and you will see what we're talking about. For it is displayed in the heavens. Even in the heathen writings, in which we would go over when we come back again, even their writings, they had testifying to us, I think in the year of 2016, how they seen this happen. It's in their writings too. Remember, my brothers and sisters, to continue to preach that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, for it's truly at hand. For our deliverer, our savior, set the example of the water baptism and the Holy Spirit baptism. And the apostle continued to both. So if you have no one to baptize you, guess what? Y'all got you covered. For the water is the second witness that's written in 1 John chapter 5. Also the heavens and the earth are his witnesses. So they can report back unto him of those who had entered into the new covenant, the renewed covenant. Okay. As far as the Holy Spirit baptism, oh, he made that easy too. But the words say, all you have to do is ask me in the name of my son, Yahusha HaMashiach, and I shall give it unto you according to your faith, your hearts, and your work. Because see, that's great power that comes with that Holy Spirit baptism. So the Father knows his children very well. He knows those who can handle it and those who are not ready. And we bid you all a shalom, and we love you, and we're looking forward for you to join us in the next time. Shalom. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Let me hit the stop recording.